Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Samuel Goldsmith, one of the food editors here at Good Food, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the perfect pudding to serve over the festive period, a trifle. This one is called the retro trifle, thanks to a surprise ingredient which I'm going to reveal shortly. For the trifle, you're going to need 150 grams of frozen raspberries. These are a great way to use fruit when it's not in season. 4 tablespoons of raspberry jam. We've got 600 ml of double cream, and we're going to whip that up for the topping. 3 tablespoons of icing sugar, and that's going to help sweeten the cream lightly. We've got 300 grams of Madeira cake, and we've cut those into 3cm pieces, and that's for the base. And now for the surprise ingredient, we've got 120 grams of custard cream biscuits. They're retro, they're going to add texture, and they're also going to add some festive whimsy. Perfect for Christmas. We've also got sprinkles and maraschino cherries, and we're going to put those on top of the trifle to add a little bit of beauty. For the jelly, we've got 6 gelatin leaves. That's going to help set the jelly. We've got 150 grams of golden caster sugar to help sweeten it. We've also got 1 lemon which we've pared, and then we've also got the juice of a lemon. And we've also got 500 grams of frozen raspberries, and that's going to help flavour the jelly. And then for the custard, we've got 800 ml of whole milk. It is best to use whole milk because that helps give it that creamy texture. We've got 1 vanilla pod, 100 grams of caster sugar, 6 tablespoons of corn flour, that's going to help thicken the custard, along with 5 large egg yolks. They're also going to help thicken the custard, and they're also going to give it a lovely yellow colour. And then finally, we've got 150 grams of clotted cream. It is Christmas after all. First thing we're going to do is make the jelly. And so we're simply going to put the gelatin in a bowl of cold water, and just enough water to help cover the gelatin. And we're going to use this to help set the jelly. Right, whilst the gelatin's softening, we're going to make the rest of the jelly. Okay, I'm going to combine the caster sugar with the lemon zest and also the juice. Now don't worry if there's a few seeds inside the juice because that'll add some pectin, which will also help to thicken up the jelly. I'm going to heat that up and add 400 ml of water into that as well. What we don't want are any of the granules of sugar still to be in there because we want a nice smooth jelly. Right, now that the sugar's dissolved, I'm going to add the raspberries. Great thing about using frozen raspberries is it doesn't matter if they break down because you're going to break them down again. Okay, so give that a good mix. I'm going to bring that to the boil and then reduce it to a simmer. I'm going to cook it for 5 minutes or until the raspberries have broken down. Right, now those raspberries have broken down, I'm going to strain them through the sieve. So you simply pour the raspberries into a sieve that's set over a bowl or a jug. And then I'm going to use the spatula and mix those raspberries around just to get as much liquid through as I can. Like so. You don't have to apply lots of pressure here. It's just some gentle mixing just to help that liquid go through the sieve. Once you've finished with the raspberries, you don't need to throw these away. You could use them for some porridge or some overnight oats. Now we've got that lovely raspberry liquid, we're going to mix in the gelatin. Just take the gelatin out of the water, give it a good squeeze, just to get out any excess water. And then you're going to mix that into your hot raspberry liquid. And I'm just going to use a whisk just to mix that round and make sure it's all combined. You really want to make sure the gelatin mixture is dissolved properly because otherwise you'll end up with bits of gelatin in there. And there you have it, you've made your jelly. So what we're going to do now is pour that into the trifle bowl for the first layer of your trifle. Look at that, lovely and red, perfect Christmas colour. I'm now going to get that into the fridge where I'm going to leave it to chill for at least 5 hours, or ideally you could do it the night before. Right, the jelly is chilling, so it's time to make the custard. We're going to start by heating the milk in the pan, and then we're going to pop the vanilla pod in, which we've already split in half. And then we're just going to heat that until it's just steaming, and then we're going to carry on. So you can see it's just started to steam, so I'm going to remove that from the heat because I don't want it to boil. I'm going to continue the custard by mixing together the egg yolks, the sugar, and also the corn flour. These act as the thickeners and the sweeteners for the custard. And also the egg yolks give that lovely yellow colour that you want. So just give them a quick whisk. You only need to combine them, that's all. Now that that's combined, I'm going to go and get the hot milk. Before I pour that in, I need to remove the vanilla pod. Now you don't need to chuck that away, you can reuse that, just give it a wash and then pop it in a sterilised jar of brandy or rum, and then you've got your own homemade vanilla extract. Right, now you're going to gradually pour that hot milk into your egg yolks and sugar mixture, and this is going to help make your custard. I absolutely love custard, and I think it's great in a trifle, but you could also do what my nan does and use blancmange instead. It's a slightly firmer set than custard. And you're just going to pour that in until it's all combined and keep whisking because you don't want any lumps. Okay, now that that's all combined, I'm going to pop it back in the pan and then heat it up so that it thickens nicely. And then pour that mixture into the pan. I'm just going to heat that until it's nice and thickened. I don't want to heat it too hot because otherwise it might curdle, although the corn flour should stop that from happening. But just give it a stir whilst you gently heat it. If you want to be precise, then you can use a digital thermometer and take it to 82 degrees, and that's the perfect temperature for custard. You can see the custard's thickened really nicely now, so I'm going to add that Christmas indulgence and mix in the clotted cream. That's going to add a lovely creaminess and a nice smooth texture. But I'm going to pour that into a bowl, and I'm going to use a spatula just so I get all the custard out. Don't want to waste any of this. To stop a layer of skin forming, I'm just going to pop some greaseproof paper on top, like so. I'm now going to put that in the fridge and then leave it to chill until it's cold. Right, next up we're going to make a little jam layer, and this is simply going to be made using ready-made raspberry jam, and then we're going to pimp it up a bit using some frozen raspberries. I love using frozen fruit when the fruit isn't in season because it's usually frozen really close to when it's picked. It keeps a lot of its qualities such as the texture and the colour, all of that flavour and also a lot of the nutrition as well. We're just going to cook that for a few minutes just to break down the raspberries just a little bit. Right, those raspberries are broken down now, so I'm simply going to set those aside and leave it to cool. It's time to make our final layer, which is the cream layer, and this is very exciting because it means that we're about to start assembling the trifle, but before we do, we're going to whip up the cream. Simply take your double cream, pour it into a large bowl. You want quite a large bowl because you want to be able to get the whisk in there and create some volume. Now I'm going to sift in the icing sugar. Simply tip it into a sieve and then give it a little shake until it's all in. The reason I'm sieving the icing sugar is just to get rid of any lumps. What you don't want are any big lumps of icing sugar in your cream. Right, so now that's in, let's get whisking. I'm using a hand whisk here, but if you want to use an electric whisk, you can. It will probably be a little bit quicker if you do, but I quite like to be able to control it a little bit better with a hand whisk. Got the cream just how I want it, which is nice soft peaks. I like to do it a little bit under how I want it at the end, because when I mix it with the spatula and spoon it onto the trifle, it will thicken up a little bit more. Now for the most exciting bit, we're going to put this trifle together. We're going to start by popping these Madeira cake pieces onto the jelly layer that we made earlier. So simply take your piece of cake and then create a layer by popping them on to the top of the jelly. Right, so the Madeira cake layer's done. Now it's time for our secret ingredient, which is those custard creams. All I'm going to do is take a few of them and then crush those over the cake, like so. Just crumble them with your fingers. If you want to, you can bash them with a rolling pin on the wooden board and then just scrape them in. I'm going to keep the rest and I'm going to use them to pop round the edge in a minute. Right, the next layer is the custard. So I'm going to peel off that baking parchment that we popped on earlier. Then I'm going to whisk the custard just to loosen it a little bit so I can pour it onto the trifle. Okay, so we've loosened that up. Now I'm going to pour it on top. Okay, so I'm just going to use a spatula to help me get the custard on. For me, the custard is absolutely the most important bit. I love custard. Just pour it on and then you can use the spatula to help ease it into the edges and create a nice even layer. What I don't want to do is to sort of force it down because I still want to be able to see as much of the other layers as I can. I'm going to top that custard layer with that raspberry compote we made earlier. So simply pour that over. And then again, you can use the spatula just to even it over if you like. And that gives a lovely, vibrant colour, which is a perfect red colour as well for Christmas. Just use your spatula just to ease it in. Again, I'm not pushing it down because I don't want to break that custard layer. And now back to the secret ingredient, the custard creams. I'm simply going to pop those in by pushing them down slightly into the custard layer. Just like so. So they're popping out just slightly. Now it's time for the final layer, which is that whipped cream that we made earlier. All I'm going to do is spoon it on top of the trifle. Now you can see that the cream is sticking out the top of the trifle bowl. That's absolutely fine. If you've got a shallower bowl, then you'll need to do that. If you've got a deep trifle bowl, then you can make it all in the trifle bowl. Right, once you've got all that cream on top, just pop the bowl down, and then you can use the back of your spoon just to ease that in around. It's also nice if you can still see the secret ingredient and have those custard cream just popping through. Right, the cream's on, and just to top it off, we're going to add those sprinkles and those cherries. So for the sprinkles, just grab a pinchful and then have a little sprinkle over the top. You can go as heavy or as light as you like on the sprinkles. This is your chance to add your little flourish before you serve. And then finally, for the cherries, just place those evenly around. I like not to place them too kind of obviously placed and make them a little bit random, but that deep red colour is just perfect for this time of year. One final cherry there. And there you have our retro trifle. We've got a lot more delicious content coming your way. Drop a comment below and let us know what your secret ingredient would be. And of course, head over to goodfood.com or download our app for all the full recipes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.